just getting underway in the Asia session. It's 20 past 10 on the 15th. Let me just fix this up just a touch. Yep, you can see our levels a bit better there. Yeah, look, DXY overnight, boom. If you've been watching the videos, obviously I was looking more for a move down towards the sort of 104 area, but seems obviously sort of that call in terms of USD weakness was basically wrong. As you can see, as it was sort of coming out of this channel, you can see it a bit better on the 4 hour. Around this point here is when I did that little pre-ECB video. We saw the pop after ECB. You can see it probably better on the lower time frame. Yeah, it sort of came up. It didn't really do a great deal from the ECB. I mean, opposite to what you kind of thought it would have been doing it, but I guess it was more of a sort of buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing, because even though the ECB sort of raised by sort of 25 base points, it's got sold off quite heavily. So I think sort of like that leak or so, or a lot of the talk of it sort of prior to it was just factored in completely. I think there was a little bit of talk about sort of a weaker sort of economic recovery for Eurozone as well. So that probably obviously didn't help to it too much. But the big mover after that really was the US data that came out. So they had, I think it was retail sales and PPI. Retail sales just smashed it out of the park, really. So that is what sort of gave this massive explosion to the top side here. Took out all the previous highs. If you have a look over here, you can see we're right up into this sort of heavy sort of high time frame sort of resistance zone at the moment. That daily candle gave a 28-point close above the previous high closes, which I guess would have been this one over here because that was the open at the start of the week, obviously flipping that weekly candle as well. So anyway, we are underway sort of in Asia session at the moment. Small little gap up on DXY that got closed pretty quickly. As you can see here, it's just really sort of consolidating these highs here at the moment, sort of deciding whether it's going to go for another leg or not. But as you can see, it sort of really came down quite quickly as soon as Asia opened, and that closed that gap. And now you see buyers sort of stepping back in to see if they can push this along a little bit further. So no full commitment one way or the other as to sort of whether we're going to get the continuation early in sort of Asia session, but certainly bulls massively in control here. So it's certainly moving out quite strongly. So if we were to sort of break these levels, potentially people trying to get long on these ones, you could see come back around here, around this 38, possibly. This is provided they don't just close the gap and just take it off into the atmosphere up over here straight away. So yeah, that's DXY certainly. Yeah, as I said, buyers in control. Aussie was an interesting one throughout this whole period though, because Aussie, although obviously not part of DXY, DXY is just basically a barometer, or I use it as a barometer for broad USD strength and that, and you can see that at times in that sort of Aussie is sort of highly correlated with it and will get impacted either heavily or sort of overly hard in comparison to a couple of the other crosses. And then sometimes it just seems to sort of shake it off. And this was sort of like when that news was coming out. So if we pop down to the lower time frame here, you can see that that's when the ECB sort of came out, and that sort of got dumped down. Actually, no, sorry, my bad. That was when the US data came out. So as you can see, ECB had a very small, if nothing, kind of negligible kind of reaction, which obviously it's Euro data, but generally sort of via proxy in that we might get a bit of a move, but didn't really sort of seem to do much. It attempted to break out a couple of times. As you can see, this is a big sort of resistance zone here. But when that US data dropped, it also the Aussie dropped very hard. But as you can see, it didn't last very long at all. And the recovery was strong and actually pushed it back up past the data drop level, past the highs from, whatever sort of ECB sort of period was, and actually popped in new daily, weekly highs. So it really sort of shook it off. And if you have a look at this at the same time, you got DXY just in a complete push up to the top side. Um, Aussie's really sort of just going, well, that's fine, you do your thing, I'll do mine. And as you can see, every time these are sell downs, these swings are massive because Aussie's not a fast mover. A busy hour on the Aussie, maybe 20 points. News driven hour, maybe sort of 30, 35, 40, whatever. But it's not a big pip mover sort of per hour. But certainly with these moves here, these are some wild swings. But you can see they're being bought up every single time, and sort of brought back up. So we're starting to get these lower highs. We've got a little bit of this sort of rising sort of support coming through here. As you can see, I've marked it out. And once again, anytime it's come down into this zone, buyers are stepping in and pushing it straight back up. So it'd be interesting to sort of see if it can actually get some sort of follow through and get that breakout that it's been looking for. Because, what's this, 64, 59 overnight, which pretty much lines up with, as you can see, we've got marked out here, daily resistance at 61. So, 2 pips off the bottom there, off the top, sorry. So I wouldn't be surprised, particularly if we do see a little bit more profit taking on the US dollar positions, that we might get a pop here. But, it's nothing sort of confirmed yet. But this is certainly a nice sort of level to sort of set up. And if we can get a close up around here, there you go, bang. I'll call that a sort of confirmation if we can get a close up around there. So he's got to keep fixing up some of these alerts. There we go. And yeah, so that's Aussie. So it's still sort of floating along. Didn't get quite that sort of breakout to the price target, but it still remains at 64.80. But again, obviously, we just need to get that close up around this zone to sort of see if we can sort of see some sort of continuation. Copper actually sort of held up quite well, all things sort of considered. So if you've been watching the videos, you can see these are the areas. We know sellers, no sellers. And then even after this big sell down, this is where we were saying, look, when we come back in contact with this line, we're going to get selling happening. And if we zoom in on this one here, sort of get this out of the way just for now, you can see that sort of as soon as it sort of hit this zone here, pretty much to the cent, sellers just stepped right in, bang, knocked it straight down. But at the moment, for the time being, you can see this all sort of price target up until the zone as well. So this has been completed now. Get that out of the way. This one's been completed. It's apart from the fact of being sort of very volatile and swinging up and down and that, it's still it's opening quite well, sort of start of Asia. So yeah, we're going to have to sort of see what they really want to do with the US dollar, because I think that's going to be the driving force to sort of see sort of where we go in the short term from here. If we're going to sort of see another test on this level here, or if we're going to fizzle back down to the lower sides. Obviously, we didn't quite get to the contact down here, and again, if we don't get quite to the contact up here, I mean, what are we looking at here? Yeah, within a couple of cents again, so it's quite close for it all. Flipping across, we got China. China, as I said, still looking for the downside move, and it's been coming this week, but we're seeing a sort of a bit of a confluence of this position here, where we had, as I said, this is the sort of rising wedge I've been looking to trade. You've got this sort of horizontal here, buyers have stepped in. You've got the rising support, buyers have stepped in. So you've got a confluence of the two here. Again, sort of, if we can break to the downside of this lot here, we're going to sort of see a bit more of a continuation, and we're going to drag that alert up a little bit. Obviously, you had buyers step in from these levels, but at the moment, we've got these are the buyers here. And if we can sort of break through this wick, we're going to see a bit more of a move to the downside here. And all these things are going to be affecting Aussie. They're going to be affecting copper. So if we get the break to the downside here, we're going to see a push on Aussie, and we're going to see a push on copper as well. And finally, just gold. Gold, as I say, it's sort of, what I mean, despite sort of trading quite heavy, It is sort of finding buyers and some support. So as I said in that pre-ECB video last night, that I was trying to buy it around the 1900. I got a fill at 19, I think it's 1902, 190269. So, not right on the bottom there, but certainly down the bottom of this wick. So, we've got a nice little sort of hammer on the daily here. Again, it's still, obviously quite strong in a bearish kind of push down, but these long wicks are quite a nice sort of thing. And again, it's sort of, despite DXY closing on its daily highs, you see this with gold. And I think where we at here, so these are the news events sort of through here. So this little spike up here was from the ECB. And then, of course, 15 minutes later, we had the US data and it just flipped on itself. You can see it on a sort of better on a time frame here. Yeah, so this is the ECB pushing up here, and then the US data just came down, pushed it, and drove it right down to the bottom here. And obviously, sort of held a little bit of support around this 1900 level. Very volatile, up and down, up and down, up and down. But despite DXY closing near its daily highs, gold actually managed to rally back up above the US data drop, the ECB data drop, and also the ECB spike high to sort of close at this 1910. So, it is obviously sort of the bigger pictures on a downward sort of push, but these sort of big sort of buyback ups have got to be sort of respected. So, you know what I mean? We're sort of seeing a little bit of a sort of like, I'd be happy to sort of say you're going to give the bulls a bit of a chance here to sort of see where they want to take it. In the short term, 1913, that's a level to get above. As you can see, it's tried a couple of times over here. We got a whole bunch of them over here. And this one sort of failed to even sort of get up to that level. But I think certainly if we can get up to this level here and close above, that'll be a nice confirmation for a bit of a push back up towards 1920, where we can sort of revisit some of these lows and the start of this drop off from down here. So 1919, I would say, is your short term price target. If we can get above this sort of 13-14 zone, you still have to contend with this falling resistance that we've sort of seen coming back here, coming into play from was this from the 15th. I'll give it a third shot. It's from the first. So for call it basically the month long sort of downtrend falling resistance. That's what you need to sort of pop above. We're only halfway through the month now, so there's still plenty of time for these things to sort of recover a little bit. But in the short term, above 13, I'd be looking for 20, maybe some sort of pullback. That'll take us outside the channel. And if we can get outside the channel, then we're sort of looking up, possibly through next week. If we can get outside the channel, back test, make a new high, we can get sort of back towards that sort of mid-20s, mid-20s, late 20s kind of level. Cool. And that's pretty much it from me for now.